between reaches and historic...
Connie Fisher's musical map of Wales directs her to the valleys in half an hour here on BBC Two Wales. Before that, Think Before You Ink. Dragon's Eye investigates the proposed legislation on body piercing and tattooing.
Coming soon to your television screen, local TV, American style. This is Dragon's Eye. Good evening. We're used to seeing the top television shows from across the Atlantic, aren't we? But now the UK government is hoping to import the way the USA delivers news and programming to local communities. The Department of Culture, Media and Sport has highlighted Bangor, Cardiff, Haverfordwest, Mold and Swansea as areas that could support a local TV station. Dragon's Eye has been stateside to find out how it works over there and whether it can do the same here. Here's Brian Meakin.
Why does Birmingham, Alabama have 9 local TV stations when Birmingham, West Midlands has none? It's a question that's been exercising the UK government. It wants to see stations popping up across the country. Local TV will stand or fall based on whether it can generate interest and demand in communities like this one in Haverfordwest. The town's been named as a potential home to a Pembrokeshire TV channel. We asked some local people what they made of the idea.
Because Pembrokeshire radio is very popular, so something on that theme would be very nice, yeah.
And we like to see what's happening around the town, but not so much more now.
Well, I think it's a very good thing, yes, yeah. Local news for local people would be good. Yeah, good.
And local businesses backed it.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it'd help local businesses expand further on TV.
Yeah. But how exactly would it work? We went to Birmingham, Northern Alabama to find out. The city's roughly the size of Swansea and it has 9 local TV stations serving a region of 3 million people, roughly similar to the population of Wales. The government believes local TV helps boost interest in local politics. Politicians in Birmingham agree that it's an important part of their democracy.
Is that a possibility? It could go down even more?
With no additional revenue.
In reality, us 5 commissioners cannot meet without someone from the press there. Only no more than 2 can meet at one time because of the sunshine laws that we have. So it's a way to keep it open, keep it on above board. We have nothing to hide.
WBRC is a station that's affiliated to the Fox network, but not Fox News. It provides them with programmes and money from national advertising.
For us, though, it is a part of our success of having both the support of a network and the support of our company. Raycom Media owns our TV station and owns more than 30 TV stations around the United States. It's their financial support and their support for the mission of our TV station and then the support of the Fox network that ultimately gets us to where we are and gives us the tools we need to be able to succeed in the local market.
Around 60 miles from Birmingham is Tuscaloosa, where local TV means something quite different.
It's the local angle. It's the talking with the people from Tuscaloosa or people from Tennessee. We just got done talking to them that traveled to Tuscaloosa to go to the game. We talked to them, figure out why this means so much to them. We just talked to them about how his stepson was a Tennessee fan. His stepdad converted him over to Alabama. ESPN and CBS Sports are going to come in here. They're going to do the game. That's their job. But they don't give what's going on around the stadium. Their focus is inside the stadium. That's what we watch it for.
Time is running out to apply for federal assistance to remove debris from properties in Tuscaloosa. The deadline...
WVUA may be more local, but it's still affiliated, not to a major network, but to the University of Alabama, which owns it. It relies on free studios and interns from media courses.
Students are crucial to our operation, and that's why we are constantly training. Now, if we could grow our staff, we certainly could. But now we do with using volunteers and using part-time students. We use our student workers to complement what our professionals do. If we got rid of the students, we would have to probably double, maybe even triple our staff size. So yes, we could do it, but we would have to hire a lot more professional bodies. So what we have opted to do to give these students opportunities and to create the journalists of tomorrow, we've opted on purpose to keep our staff size small. That way it gives somebody an opportunity to learn a job skill.
It seems clear that the lessons from America are that whatever local TV means, it needs the support of larger organisations. Back in Haverfordwest, the town's mayor is backing plans for a local TV channel.
I think it would be brilliant. It would bring work to the town, which is very much needed. It would also give the townspeople and community of Pembrokeshire a voice.
The final details of how it will operate here are still to be decided, but there are questions over whether separate local stations would be financially viable.
PembrokeshireTV.com provided local video news online. According to those behind it, it had 3,500 hits per day, but it only lasted 18 months, due in large part to financial reasons.
For the people, it's got to be sustainable. If it's only going to be for a short period, then it's not worth it. It's got to be well backed by the organisations involved.
We understand that at least 3 independent production companies are interested in providing local TV to areas like Pembrokeshire. But it appears likely they'd want to work together and join up the services.
Well, we're not experts in television, we're experts in radio, which is what we do, and we're talking to businesses, institutions about partnering with us to bring this to life, because we do fully appreciate we don't have the expertise to kind of make this happen on our own. So yes, partnerships are going to be crucial to make this happen, and it's something we're definitely exploring as a company.
In order to turn the UK government's American dream of local TV into a reality, Wales may well find that it's developing its own model, with local stations working in tandem. The picture will become clearer when licences are awarded at the beginning of next year.
Brian Meakin reporting there. Well, earlier I spoke to Ken Skates, the Labour AM for Clwyd South, who heads an assembly group set up to look at the future of the media in Wales, and Ian Hargreaves, Professor of Digital Economy at Cardiff University. Well, Ian Hargreaves, do you think that the US model of local television is applicable here in Wales?
No, it's not. I mean, there are obvious differences. The population of Birmingham, Alabama is closer to the population of Wales than the population of Haverfordwest. But there's another big difference. Broadcasting in the United States is organised federally. There isn't a strong central national system of the kind that there is in the UK, and these local stations affiliate together to gather advertising and share content, and that's been a very strong basic model in American television for a very long time.
Ken Skates, do you share those concerns?
I do. I share those entirely. I think the difference is that you've got a population of about 1.2 million people in Birmingham, Alabama. It's a quarter of the state's population. There's no way that you can say that that can then be transferred to Haverfordwest or any other of the 6 areas in Wales and expect it to work with populations of what, 25,000?
It does bring us on to the sustainability question then, which Ian Hargreaves referred to in his answer, one of which is content. Where do you get that sort of, well, where do you get the necessary content to keep a local television station up and running? Do you have any suggestions there, Ken Skates?
I'm very worried that the content on local television would be incredibly poor. I think one example that would be good to look at, if this is going to be forced upon us, maybe Catalonia, in the sense that there you've got several newspapers that have collaborated to produce local TV. But I really don't think that there's going to be quality content. And also, there's a big issue over advertising revenue. Already public service broadcasting who rely on advertising are struggling. I don't see how local television could survive on that.
Well, Ian Hargreaves, we have seen PembrokeshireTelevision.com, which did seem to be reasonably popular when it was going, fold for a lack of advertising. Do you think that the kind of models that are currently under discussion, a station based in Haverfordwest, for example, could generate enough advertising to keep going?
Well, I'm not as pessimistic as Ken is. It's interesting that one of the companies that has expressed an interest in taking on local TV is Town and Country Radio, which owns Radio Pembrokeshire among a number of other radio stations in Wales, and they wouldn't be thinking about it if they didn't think they could make a go of it. But my own view is that this will only work if it involves a partnership between commercial players and what you might call civic players, people who are not in it to make a profit-seeking business. And I think it is possible in those circumstances that some of these locations in Wales could be made to work, but the content creation costs will have to be very low, but they can take advantage of the fact that the government deal here is essentially to make the cost of transmitting the service free.
Can I just come back to a point on this? Sorry. It's not just about whether they can work and survive, it's what they're actually going to be broadcasting. And right now we're finding that fewer programmes are produced in Wales with a unique Welsh content. Is it that we want more local TV, more localism, or do we want something like BBC Wales, like ITV Wales, to actually have a viable future?
Would there be a role, do you think, for BBC Wales or ITV Wales in perhaps content sharing or other forms of support, Ken Skates?
Well, potentially that would be for the BBC in part to actually, and ITV Wales to actually discuss that with local TV. But again, it's whether they're viable, whether they're able to play into it.
Ian Hargreaves, another unanswered question at the moment is regulation and how that would work and who would do it.
Well, it's clear that Ofcom, the communications media regulator, is going to be given the job of deciding precisely who gets these licenses. But interestingly, Ofcom has said they expect the process to be more like the one that governs community radio, which is very local, very low cost, a lot of it involving amateur or volunteer effort that they're basing this on. So it's true that it's impossible to imagine in the near term these kind of local television services looking like the kind of television that we've got. But as we move across this gap between broadcast television and internet television, there is scope for new forms of television in the UK.
Ken Skates, where does all of this fit into the wider debate that's going on at the moment and the group that you're chairing in the Assembly is looking at, which is the discussion about the devolution of broadcasting to the Assembly?
Well, to some extent, I think local TV has actually offered more of a problem than a solution to the discussion. We're looking for ideas and viable solutions at this moment in time when we're finding that UK government cuts are hitting particularly the BBC incredibly hard when the future of S4C is really in the balance. And what we need to do is actually start finding good ideas and good solutions.
Ian Hargreaves, very briefly, what's your take on that?
Well, I think that this is potentially part of the solution. It's not an easy or ready-made or pain-free solution, but it's an opportunity, and I think Wales would be very foolish to turn its back on the opportunity if the UK government passes the necessary legislation and genuinely makes the opportunity available.
Can I just come back on?
Very, very briefly, because we are out of time. If you can do it in 5 seconds, go for it.
I think our concerns right now should be about making sure that what we have is sustainable and survives.
OK, gentlemen, thank you both very much indeed. Europe's been a divisive issue for the Conservative Party in recent decades. Now, the Prime Minister, David Cameron, has succeeded in keeping it under wraps for the last few years. Now, though, some Eurosceptic Tory MPs are calling on the Prime Minister to use the Eurozone's current difficulties to renegotiate the terms of Britain's membership. On Monday, some of them will go even further and call for a referendum on Britain's membership of the EU. There'll be a debate on that in the House of Commons. The government may decide to impose a 3-line whip, the equivalent of ordering their MPs to vote no. But how many are likely to rebel? And is Europe once again starting to pose a danger to the stability of the Conservative Party? With me now is the Conservative MEP, Kay Swinburne. Welcome to Dragon's Eye. Is this history repeating itself for your party?
I don't think it is. I think we're in a historic time. I don't think there's ever been such turmoil at this point in time in Europe. And so it's probably a very sensible time for people to actually be having a debate. And the one thing my party are very good at is debating. We don't all sing from the same hymn sheet, and so it's very healthy to have a debate. And with everything that's taking place at the moment, particularly with the Eurozone crisis, it's a very opportune moment to actually talk about the future, both in the medium and the long term.
But when Tory backbenchers are giving quotes like country first, party second, that has a ring of the major years about it, doesn't it?
It does indeed. However, I think the whole of the crisis, particularly the Eurozone crisis, has demonstrated that not just the UK but all the other member states are becoming very nationalistic in their outlook and very nationalistic in their responses to the crisis. They're looking home first to fix the problems at home before they actually show any solidarity with their neighbouring countries. So I think it's across the whole of the EU. I don't think it's a specific UK
No,
issue
but I
right
suppose
now.
the Conservatives have a particular history in terms of the way that it poisoned the party during the major years. Are you concerned that, given the wider context which you've described, that it could open up a well that's been covered over in recent times?
To be fair, I think there's a new generation of politicians in the group and in the Conservative Party as a whole right now. And so I think there really is a very different mood about the whole thing to the 1990s. And at the end of the day, the major years actually made sure we had some huge vetoes within Europe, and we actually managed to get a lot of rebates maintained and expanded. So the major years for Europe were actually not a negative experience.
But they weren't so great for the Conservative Party.
Not as a whole at that particular point in time, but you know, we bury these things and we move on. And the reality is, Europe is at a crossroads right now. It's good to have the debate, and if there is going to be a greater fiscal union within the Eurozone, we need to actually find out what impact that would have on the UK.
Now the Chancellor, which is a turn-up for a Eurosceptic Chancellor, but that's exactly what he's called for, which is greater